Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it the core of the earth or the core himself? He's returned. That's right, he's back, one and all. Welcome back to the Age of Empires for Action. A rare sight emerging here. We don't get to see him too often these days, but Core is back on the ladder. Ranked 22nd in the world right now. He's going to man himself with the Chinese. On the other side of this is Jeanne D'Arc, who is going to be playing in the pink as the Abbasids. And this guy is ranked 62nd in the world. So this is a very high-ranking match between these two. I thought this would be a cool matchup to check in on because Core, I feel like he's been super active recently. You know, real life, other games, whatever it may be. I know he's still trying to get to Platinum in Valorant. So that takes a lot of his time. But I'm curious like how up-to-date he is on the Abbasid play because the Abbasids are kind of bonkers right now. The more and more we're seeing of them, obviously we're seeing a lot of them now in the team formats where they are absolutely broken. Even in the 1v1s, really, really strong Civ right now. I'd say solid A tier Civ in the Abbasids. The eco wing is the real driving factor. In a meta where most Civs can't just blindly say, okay, let's go 2TC without repercussion, this is the Civ that somehow gets away with it every single time. On the other side, China used to always go for these 2TC metas with Song Dynasty, but I think they've been leaning more into fast castle builds recently, and I'm wondering if that's the way to go, because you can't really TC race Abbasids, in my opinion. The problem you have is that you end up making your TCs work faster, but you end up spending more by doing so, right? And you're going to have to go Song, which is going to be an extra 600 resources, and then you're going to have to build a TC, right? So you're talking about 600 plus 750. Well, guess what, folks? With a ridiculous 35% discount, that means that the Abbasids can get 2 TCs extra and the fresh foodstuffs and still spend less than you would as China. That's insane, right? And that's the problem with turning it into a TC race if you're China. You simply can't because you'll always be outgunned. Because free TC will outperform Song 2 TC, but the crazier part is you'll end up spending 400 food a minute on villagers. Meanwhile, on the Abbasid side, they'll spend under 300 food while getting more villages. So yeah, kind of a tough one. I agree with the Imperial Academy. I think like this right now, this landmark is like top 3 feudal landmark still. The Imperial Academy is really that good. It accelerates you and amplifies your economy and gives you options at a point in the game where China has historically been weak. That's no longer really the case. Like I've seen a lot of games where China looks really strong in the feudal, whether it's early, mid, or late, because of the power of the economy you get from this particular building. It's also just the access to the taxmen in a very fluid way. Whereas, you know, the old school way, if you went Barbican first, you'd have to wait much longer to get into the academy. And then before the patches, you have to pay full price anyway, or you'd have to skip it entirely. So, Eco Wing on the other side. We've got to check the map spawn here, because we are on Lepony, funnily enough. You wouldn't believe it when the cliffs are that tiny. But I'm checking the spawn. I think you could see a TC drop here that would make a lot of sense next to the Golden Stone. And then you shove in the deer, right? And then you trip TC on the back if it's needed. But you only really need to do free TC if your opponent goes for 2 TC. That's the thing I don't like about Eco Wing, I guess. Maybe sometimes it can look memey when both players can just keep TCing. But in this matchup, it gets really weird when you just have this delayed response even from the Abbasids that eclipses what the other player does when it comes to eco. And we might be seeing that out of court because the Barbican is on the way. A good Barbican, mind you. Double berries and a deer. This is a delicious position for core. The only annoying part, right, is when you play China, you can't supervise the TC, so you have to drop the TC a little bit further away and then mills anyway. But now that this is going to get scouted, in fact, it looks like it already has been, I'm imagining we're going to be seeing free TC. First one is already getting set up. We are live from the ladder, by the way. Usually I would speed up the first few minutes of play, in particular in an Abbasid Chinese game. But the ups and downs of life. And the TC is exactly where we expected it here, right? So touches the gold, touches the stone, allows you to switch between the two and gather. You've got the mining camp, sure, but when new villagers come out, when you want to go maybe like, say, 12 villagers on gold, this will make you more efficient. And I imagine we should be having the scout coming home soon and then shoving in this deer. In fact, if Jeanne D'Arc wants to go the extra mile, he can shove in the first deer and then move over the second because they're both quite close together. Stone gathering underway. Yeah, chorus. Oh, God. So, context, guys. We are waiting for the team tournament to kick off, which is going to start in 40 minutes. Draft will probably take like 5 minutes, 10 max. So, out of all the games I could have clicked on, this one may prove to be the riskiest, because I know that Core likes to play a bit more greedy. He likes to play a bit more of a macro game. And it is China versus Abbasids. So I hope we have enough time to watch this whole thing. I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah, it's fine. All right, curious though, like let me know in the chat and let me know on the YouTube comments later. We're 6 minutes in. Do you think that the spawn, the matchup, the players is going to favor the Abbasids, press 1, or the Chinese, press 2? I think Core's a very talented player, right? Like, he's proven that time and time again. He doesn't put as many hours in as most of the people in the top 30, and he still manages to maintain that type of spot. However, Jeanne D'Arc started to surprise me around Sultanate Ascend. He kind of came out of nowhere with, I think it was Byzantines in the very early days, and then he started to play like some Juji as well. And he was pretty damn impressive to witness. It was quite funny as well. Only limited number of games on Jeanne, despite the fact he's got the name Jeanne D'Arc. So one's coming in. People can't help but back the year of the camel. I mean, it really is feeling like 2025 is actually going to be the year of the camel, right? Like, it might be the year where the Abbasids are the strongest they've ever been. There is still other civs that are a bigger issue that are more powerful, right? But those civs are more likely to get nerfed in the coming weeks and months. Things like, for example, Byzantines, HRE, and so on and so forth. I am starting to wonder, though, with the most recent patches we've had, Byzantine's not really getting nerfed, HRE not really getting nerfed. It almost feels like the devs are avoiding nerfing civs and are more interested in now actively buffing. And I'm okay with that, right? There is an issue, which we'll discuss in a moment, that can come from that. But the really big benefit you get from buffing civs instead of nerfing them is most people... Oh my god, it's 40. Most people do this on Abbasid. But yeah, most people main a civ. And they're likely to never change that civ. In fact, they come to the game to play that particular civ. They love that civ. This is true in all kinds of different genres, right? There are people who play Apex Legends and only ever play one hero. There are people who play Dota 2 or League of Legends and they only ever play one hero. There are people that play Europa Universalis 4 for 2,000 hours and they only ever play France, right? So whenever you nerf these individual entities, you could be hurting your player base. Whereas when you buff the weaker, you actually just keep more people in the game and possibly bring more back, right? Like, if you had a bunch of French mains who have been feeling disenfranchised for like a year, they come back, right? So overall, I'm okay with this approach. It does have a negative down the line. There is a tax that has to be paid over time. And that tax, not like the Chinese, it isn't a good one. It's power creep. Power creep is a really big problem. When you amplify oh my god, dude, this I am so sorry in advance for the people who just realized this is an hour-long recording. Because this is like, now you kind of want to stay because it's a really interesting discussion, I hope. But the whole point is that, you know, power creep can be a problem, and you will eventually reach a point where you have to reset the field. You have to find something to do. And it might be artificial inflation of numbers or whatever to kind of appease the state of play. But I'm still always going to be a bigger fan of enabling that power creep over time versus crippling civs. Because one will keep players around. The others will drive them out. And for examples of like how you get to that eventual power creep reset, like look no further than, for example, World of Warcraft, right? When the level inflation got kind of ridiculous and then they just smashed the levels back down, right? These are the type of examples that you have where there is an inevitable reset that's going to occur. But the fact it went that big in the first place isn't necessarily a negative. It kept the players around in the first place. In team game, people go 4 TC start H3 by 9:30. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Is Baltoon crapping on our Abbasid player for having to build a camel archer? Excuse me. Also, that's not true, Baltoon. In team games right now, you spam camels. I'm curious to see how this is going to work out for you. Baltoon, for those that don't know, is teaming up with a bunch of Taiwanese players. They did lose their Series 2-1 in the upper bracket, but they're still live in the lower bracket. But we did cast some camel spamming yesterday from both Ayyubids and Abbasids, right? And both of them seem to play a very long feudal age. And in fairness, they did win. 4-5 TC into Camel Rider. Oh, I agree. I actually think Camel Riders is underrated. 100%. Like, especially if you're playing like Mass Cav versus Mass Cav. But the Camel Archer spam still looks pretty bloody strong. Power creep in EU4 is very real. Every now and then, we just broadly nerf sometimes. Yeah, some things. Yeah. Well, like, the beautiful thing about EU4, maybe it's not beautiful, because it complicates it more, but it doesn't seem to hurt the numbers, is EU4 kind of reaches a point of, oh, we've got power creep, introduce a new mechanic. And the weird part is, although they're making the game more complicated in some cases, it doesn't seem to drive people away. Mate, you know what? I'm kind of curious about that as well. I've been thinking about it. When Europa Universalis 5 comes out, I think I want to stream it some. Like, who would want to watch that? I'm curious how many people in AoE are aware or intrigued by Europa. I know Kazi Johan's going to want it straight away, dude. He's tapping his vein already. For those that have not seen Europa Universalis, it's the Paradox Interactive Studio, so the people that make games like Hearts of Iron and whatnot. They are very talented at what they do in creating grand strategy games. A lot of people are probably familiar most with Crusader Kings. But Crusader Kings is, I'd say, a fairly different game to the other ones. I think the others are really grand strategy, whereas Crusader Kings is almost like a D&D experience of grand strategy. It's very unique. So Camel Archer spam is underway. We have got Knights coming. His core did rush up into age 3. And now it is being mirrored and is giving the Camel Riders great start to the age now for Jeanne Secure. That gives him the blocker to these initial Lancers. The Lancer spam is getting fat though, right? We should be having Supervision coming out, but it seems like Core has stopped. Did he even begin, actually? That's kind of curious to me, right? He's got 1, 2, 3. Is he missing his 4th? Core? No, his 4th is out here, right? Yeah, I guess it's a little bit tricky. His eco does feel a little bit split because he's going double food. So yeah, kind of a missed opportunity here to be supervising those initial Lancers. It means that the Camels should be able to just win out here. And we have got supervision of Monks coming, right? Yeah, okay, that's fine. So this is a pretty atypical play. You build the first Lancers and then you follow up with the Monks. The thing that makes this giga ridiculous is the fact that you're producing Monks every 12 seconds. That is absolutely bonkers. It's what has made this fast castle Chinese build feel so good. It's really effective to go fast castle build when you're against civs that don't play the map. But before we got to that point, we had to have the meme-storiness of the village account. Like, guys, we're going to be 40 minutes in the game, and between them both, they're going to have over 200 villages. I do think Jeanne Secure needs to start moving, though. Like, he's kind of dropped the ball here. He was slow to start pumping and slow to move out into the map. Right? Like, you've got 4 TC, your opponent went 3 TC, maybe he didn't scout that detail, but it's why Core is ahead of him. And instead of him being the one coming to Core, Core is the one pressing his economy. Lancers also just targeting the villagers, kind of ambitious there. The textiles makes it a little bit harder. Not a good trade there. 2 Lancers dying for a single villager kill. Now it's going to be a shuffle forward. Crossbows are being prepped by Core. I mean, this is where I would like to just see Camel Riders. And yeah, Jeanne Secure is actively pumping them. This is sick. Core has misread the state of the game. This is good against the Ghoulims, and maybe that kind of baited him, but the Camel Rider detail is actually a bigger problem, so Core is going back to fix that now. It is going to be Spears. Wow, actually, the more I think about it, Abbasids is really annoying for this comp, right? Because you see Camel Riders, and you pivot Spears, but Ghoulims can't Spears, right? So the Crossbow Battalion is still needed, but I think the Micro is probably a lot harder for Core in these fights. The Nesta Beast can be an X factor, usually, but against this particular Civ, their ability to build seats in the field, it's a lot more difficult. And we haven't even seen the true busted camel form, guys. Like, you say camels are busted, we haven't got camel handling yet. When we get to that stage is when we can start to rip our hair out. Interesting thing here, though. He did kind of pause on production, right? Stopped at 5 in total. There's no way Jeanne is just going for age 4, right? Right, that would be crazy. Nah, he's got no gold income. Or rather, practically no gold income, right? He's only got 1 relic, second one being grabbed. So, considering Core went for that really fine-tuned timing to rush out the monks, it's actually quite impressive that Jeanne Secure was able to get into 2 relics. Sacred Site should be a pretty lackluster objective to aim for as well. It's at least good gold cap for Core on the north side, but this third one being so far away, I wouldn't expect this to be the way the game's decided. Nesta Bees are going to be revealed early. It looks like the Ram shuffled forward. Yeah, funnily enough, Destiny's will deal with Rams quite well, guys. Immediately Pink says, that wasn't the best of ideas. What's our up? Now, who does this favor in the hyper late game? My instincts say Abbasids. Because Chinese, they've got the granary comp, right? So you can get free loads of 10%. Let's say you supervise, but like you usually don't supervise when you got 3 of them. You're on average going to have like a 30% food increase, right? But the cool thing about the Abbasids is they do have that extra from the Golden Age with the 20% gathering, and then they have the agriculture tech for the extra 15%, and then improved processing for the 8%. Like, ain't no economy like an Abbasid economy in the late game, right? So the only worry is obviously Pink is going to have to set up some sort of trade, but the good news for that is check the trade post locations. This is highly desirable. So if this game does drag an hour, 2 hours, oh god, I'm going to favor Abbasids in that situation. Based on the caliber of players, right, you give an edge to Core because he has proven himself a high-ranked player more consistently. But in terms of the Civ choices, I think Abbasids do quite well from an economical standpoint and a unit perspective, right? Camels in the late game are incredibly population efficient. 270 health already, and this is a Castle Age unit, right? You're talking like close to 400 health. Camel Arch is up to, I think it's 240. And those units will only ever take 1 pop. Meanwhile, you know, Pascal can get quite chunky, but they have the limitations. Crossbows aren't going to scale. Hand cannoneers nowhere near as tanky. Damage output, of course, is going to be higher for those units. But overall, then even in things like Golems, I would still say like Abbasids feel a lot better there, right? The double strike is incredible. The only negative here is if you don't wall them out, that's where China can really ruin your day. Some cheeky walling here. Not going to be able to stop it. It's going to be pulled back. But this is key, right? Like, if you know that you're going into a macro game against the Chinese guys, you need to be stonewalling. Because if you don't stonewall, you're just going to lose to Pascal spam. It is one of the most tilting things in the game. And what is up, Hymenator? Thank you very much for the resub, my friend. Welcome back to Swarm. Dude, this is a really slow game, actually. Village gets deleted. Granaries are being set up. This is a really nice area for it as well. He can delete the mining camp to follow up with the second granary stack. And then the third can go here. Some players like to do a line formation. Some like to do kind of a triangle formation. I haven't tested which one returns more, but my instincts say the triangle formation. So you not necessarily having them all right next to each other, but having a small gap and then like having another here and like maybe another here. But that's kind of assumptual, right? I haven't ran the numbers. I'm sure I've got a Chinese nerd somewhere in chat that has sat down and done them that thoroughly. It might also be that Core's doing what I call the Voldemar build, which is just one granary surrounded by farms. Just slather that baby in farms. And the way that this works, guys, is like, you'd be wondering, okay, why wouldn't you want extra granaries? The way you justify it is that if you bring an Imperial official to supervise, you're getting free granaries, right? Because 1 granary gives 10%, another 2 will give an extra 20%, and this guy gives 20% more in drop-off, right? So it balances out. Text on the way for both sides. Looks like Great Wall Gatehouse is coming in. This game is not going to end in time. Trade wing on the other side. This is going to be glorious for Jeanne D'Arc. They've got most of the map to cover here. Obviously, it's not maximum distance, but you don't really need it with trade wing. It's that good of a choice. And by going for it in this age, remember, he's going to get 5 traders for free straight away. Nice little rebate there, right? Like, that saves you 400 resources. It's interesting, actually, to not see Culture Wing used. That's kind of rare, I feel like. Most players usually go Culture Wing for Imperial, but considering the game is playing slow and they bloat their economy so much, that's why he doesn't care. If this had been like your atypical 2TC type build, Culture Wing makes a lot of sense for him. But because he's at this point where he's already got maximum economy, there's no reason to go for Culture Wing. When you build farms, each villager went to an individual farm to build it. Sure, I get you, but like you could argue that's a level of micro you can add in, right? Like, it is feasible. It would be horrible to do, but... You know what it is, guys? It's the skill expression. It's that extra level of micro we've been alluding to. You remember how with Shal and Monks, they're broken if you micro them all? Boom. March north side. Keeps have already been dropped, though. Core is going to try to break in. He should have edge here because of supervision tech. He's able to get all these upgrades ahead of Jeanne D'Arc. You can already see those pips. A lot of these units are lacking, but that's about to be fixed. Courtesy of that Abbasid Golden Age buff research speed, he's already reaching up with a lot of these. So we'll have his own elite army to match. Nestabis are revealed, so we've got 3 of them camping in the tree line. Hand cannoneers are now being prepped. And, you know, I mentioned, like, Abbasids will feel really good in the late game for their economy. Military units are pop efficient, but the one thing that can kill you is this. Hand cannoneers with pyrotechnics is incredibly scary. So Jeanne D'Arc is going to need to prep an appropriate answer. I don't think you can do camel archers, right? Even camel riders will feel a bit sticky. Initial clash is going to come in. Should be able to hold. We have got to wrap around a few horsemen and camel riders riding around the back looking for the nest of bees. Looks like the crossbows are already being reached. Stutter step is not going to work there as the crossbows get tracked. So nest of bees hit their target and now will be hit in return. Nice backstab there. The cav gets in. It's only a small force though, so we'll only be able to take down a single one of these 3 knobs. So he's going to try to snipe a second. Does move in with the Spearmen and the Ghoulims. And that's kind of the cool thing here, right, with Abbasids, is the Ghoulims are incredible at taking out Siege as well due to the double strike. So it looks like he's going to do enough damage to reset this. Core, however, has traded out armies and now has a premium army following this up. Damn. I mean, if... This is the rough thing, right? Like, if you can get to this late game economy we talked about, I do like Abbasids still. I'll stand my ground on that. Maybe I'll die on that hill. Maybe I'm silly about it. But the camel mass is going to take a lot of time. The hand cannoneer mass does not. You can supervise. You have military academy already. We need to get Golden Age free here as Abbasids if we want to compete, right? Because that extra 20% speed will allow you to start pumping out the camels. Now, admittedly, like hand cannoneers and camels take the same time to produce. And one can be very pop efficient, but like the other will just win one-on-one, right? Like if a camel archer rides in against a hand cannoneer is going to destroy you. He'll shoot you twice before you get in range, and then he'll just finish you off. So on top of that, the other issues, like the hand cannoneers are already giga ridiculous because they have the pyrotechnics and they get chemistry by default. So they're already at 42 damage. So really what Jeanne D'Arc needs, and we're seeing it coming through now, he needs to get all these unitechs in. Once they're there, their army can begin to compete. But before that point, they should not be looking to fight. In fact, Core should be looking to attack him now. Looks like we have got some shenanigans. A Chinese villager, a sole Chinese villager, has made his way all right way around the back. So there will be some outposts creeping in on that gold and those farms. What's the farm count at for Jeanne? 45, so looking pretty good. They did get the agriculture tech, they got improved processing, so their economy should be booming up to its maximum possibility soon. Meanwhile, war shenanigans underway. Pink, fully understanding what's coming, and funnily enough, Core respecting that goes both ways. And I think Core is getting ready to make his move. This is big. Imperial Palace will give him the potential to kite against these camels, against these Ghoulims, anything. Wow, I love how people are so happy that we've got an Abbasid Chinese matchup. This match will go ages. Oh, wait, no, so that sounded really upset. Oh, wow, this match will go ages. There we go, we found the happiness. That's something I forgot to mention, actually. Camel support, right? That's actually another really big deal in these fights. So if the goal is to play, what, Ghoulims? I think you could probably just go Ghoulim Horseman, weirdly enough, and then gradually switch Hand Cannoneer. But the cool thing about gradually switching Hand Cannoneer is although you don't have pyrotechnics, you have 2 things as the Abbasids. You'll have the +2 armor, only a small amount of damage reduction, but it's still a bit. And then you'll also have the extra health from boot camp. That's the big difference maker. Asgard are starting to move in here. These obnoxious outposts. God damn. We have got the army positioning. Culverins have been prepped, so no Nest of Beast play, but Core has a lot of hand cannoneers, folks. Oh my god, and they're so fast. Oh, this Civ in the late game. Well, the good news for Pink is it's going to take a long time for him to break through this palisade. Okay, guys, hear me out. Hear me out. Hand cannoneer, Chinese hand cannoneers are busted, but just build Pyrotechnics X3. Culverins. I mean, it's kind of true, right? Like, the Culverins can be the solution. You just need to build more palisade walls first. He's doing a good job of sniping out a few of these units with bombards and culverins. Springles are going to now move in range here. The breakthrough's coming in. Pink might be in a pickle. Palace Guard frontlining. 210 HP. No elite army tactics coming through yet for Core, but that doesn't matter. It's all about this backline. Look at the shred, look at the kill. Siege already removed from the field. One culverin trying to run away, barely gets out alive. And Pink, this is the problem. He wasn't prepped for this. No stone walls in the center to slow things down. And now the Chinese can plow through. We were worried about Core for like that late game Abbasid economy with 40 traders and all the food they could ever need. But he didn't care. He had a clearer and cleaner time in mind, and that time is now. 40 hand cannoneers break through, and the follow-up Palace Guard is what he's going to need to flood onto that back economy. This could very quickly be game. Key drop now also coming in. That's the only sacred site he needs, remember. The other two are already in his dominion. Not just that, the hand cannon is shifted across to the gold. Jeanne secure. It's not just about this gold, folks. It's about the trade at the back, which Core is going to be all too aware of. He's just going to take his time to kill off all the villagers first. Meanwhile, his army continues to win. And we have officially entered desperation mode. Jeanne secure is trickling horsemen. He's trickling archers. I don't know why we're getting spearmen as well. At this point, maybe your one hope would be Age of Siege, right? Get mangoes, get springles or culverins and just clear. But I think it's too late for that. And even if you could get to mangoes, this movement speed of the hand cannoneers makes it so difficult to hit your mark. Well played, Mr. Gore. What a wild game. So what was that? Was it 14 minutes? I'm going to have to double check. It's 14 or 15 minutes we had 200 pop between them into villages. 3 TC versus 4. I think maybe Jeanne secure needed to go for a 50 C, which is kind of wild, but like when you see China doing 3, right, it kind of makes sense. Tech timing maybe could have been a bit clearer. I also think Jeanne secure needed to be quicker across the map. Those initial lances distracted him way too long, got Core to this comfortable position in this game, and now the outcome's undeniable. He did go for the staggered formation we talked about. There we go. Confirmed that just before the end. Because I think this game is over. King just struggling to trickle out troops here. Like, building archers into hand cannoneers is a nightmare. Sacred Site win condition has now been activated. Yeah, I'm wondering actually, I like the hand cannoneers gonna be that hard done by the changes coming in Season 9 for China. I don't think so. I think they're still gonna be one of the best in the game. This unit really is the S-tier performer for China. We usually talk about Palace Guard floods as being broken because they just run through and end the game by killing economy. But if you have the raw economy to afford 40 hand cannoneers this quick, there's not many situations where a Civ is going to be ready for you, right? Yours are just better. Benefits of not only the Unitech, but also not needing to worry about the initial trades due to the range. I'm glad that the gunpowder tech is going away in its current form, because I think it is a bit too strong for this type of timing. Like, you don't always get this clean of a transition into mass hand cannoneers, but when you do, it does tend to make this Civ look a little insane. Relic yoink down away to end the game. GG gets called. Core may not be able to play that many games these days, but when he does, he comes in swinging.